Hi, it's Darnell with Wave Oven Recipes, and today I'm going to be cooking up some lemon almond flour cookies with the Cuisinart AirFryer Toaster Oven with grill. And if you've seen my initial review for this cooker, and I hope that you have, you already know that when it comes to baking, you probably don't want to use convection bake if you're trying to bake up some type of dessert with this cooker. But we're going to see how it does without using that convection bake function. And so let's get cooking right now. So let's go over the ingredients for this cook. Got a bunch of dry ingredients and wet ingredients, so I'm going to go over the dry ingredients first. Got 2 cups of blanched almond flour here. Got 2 tablespoons of a granulated sweetener. Use the one of your choice. I'm using a Erythro monk fruit blend. Got 1 teaspoon of guar gum. Got 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I've got a half a teaspoon of sea salt. I've got, now that we're getting into the wet ingredients, a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I've got 1 duck egg. Duck eggs are usually in jumbo size, but you can use 2 regular sized chicken eggs, like 2 large chicken eggs. So either 2 large chicken eggs or 1 of the jumbo sized duck eggs, which are usually what duck eggs come in as a jumbo size. I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm going to be using 3/4 cup of organic lemon juice. If you don't have organic lemon juice, then use what you have. And I have 1 more wet ingredient that I have to show you here. This is basically 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of melted butter. So I'm going to mix the wet and the dry ingredients in their respective bowls. One thing I do want to point out is that lemon juice helps break up the stickiness of honey, so you want to mix in your lemon juice into the bowl before you get to putting your honey in. Put the honey in later, and it'll help to basically break it up and be able to move that honey around so it's not all stuck together. So I'm going to go ahead and get the ingredients in their respective wet and dry bowls. Now, I also, one other thing, I've got some sprayable extra light olive oil. I'm going to be spraying the bake pan with that. Now that I've got the wet and the dry ingredients in their separate bowls mixed up, before I put the wet stuff into the dry stuff, I'm going to start preheating the cooker. I'm going to do a preheat this time around by letting it basically run ahead before starting, because it doesn't have a dedicated preheat. So I've already got the cooker on bake, not using convection bake, because that'll do a number on your baked desserts, as I mentioned. Be sure to see that in the initial review. 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to turn the time down to 30 minutes. It should need, for the cooking time, it won't need not even 20, I don't believe. But I'm going to let it basically preheat for about 10. This dial, I mean, it's like I got it on, I think 30, but I found, I guess by the time it gets to 20, it's not necessarily 10 minutes. I think the dial, you know, is a little inexact by maybe a minute or 2, but all the same, it gets it done. It's going to be up to temp in less than 5 minutes. So that was in the temperature testing of the initial review. So it'll be good and warm anyway, but I'm going to let it run for 10 minutes like that. And I'm going to go ahead and get these wet ingredients mixed into the dry to make my cookie dough. And as I'm getting my cookie dough mixed together here, I wanted to mention, if you have a couple of fresh lemons on hand, you can use the juice and the zest of those 2 lemons instead of 3/4 cup of lemon juice. Use the zest and the juice of both of those, and this recipe will turn out very nice with that. So I'm going to finish mixing here. Now I've got my cookie dough all mixed up, so what I'm going to do now, I've got a spoon. I'm going to start spooning out individual cookies to put on the baking pan here. So like scoop one out, set it down there, and you kind of want to shape your cookie the way you want it when you scoop it out, because things aren't going to flatten out very much. They may grow just a little bit, but basically the shape that you shape things when you start is close to what they're going to look like at the end. I do also want to mention that using just lemon juice without using like fresh lemons with their 2 juice and zest, It's going to be a little moister. These cookies are going to be a little more moist. If you use like the juice and zest of 2 lemons, things come out a little less moist than these. These are going to come out pretty moist. They'll be done, but they'll be a little more moist. So all depending on your preference in that regard. But either way, they turn out nice. You can't miss either way. You're gonna enjoy these cookies either way. So I'm just gonna finish getting my dozen of cookies laid out on the bake pan. Alright, it looks like according to this timer 10 minutes have passed, even though it may not have been 10 minutes. All the same, we know that the temperature's been reached. So I'm gonna open up, and I like how the light fan stops when I open up. Putting this on the lower of the 2 rack levels. Discuss which rack level to use for which type of cooking in that initial review too, but got things on end. We'll see how long it takes to cook up. Okay, I've let things go for about 15 minutes and they all look like they're getting pretty brown from that light fan on the top. I'm just opening it up to just kind of feel. And I think they're going to need a little more to finish. They're feeling a little more moist inside when I tap them than I want them to be, so I've got to let them keep going. And I'll bring you on back. Alright, I let them go to full 20, didn't touch a thing the entire time, just let them go. So we see what would happen. And feeling them now. They still have a little moistness in them, but they feel done. So, something you kind of learn over time. But you can see they got a pretty good cooking on the top. That light fan on the top coming down still does a number on them. And if you've seen the initial review, you're kind of aware of the whole fan situation. But I'm going to set these aside and let them cool, but this is how they look. So what I'm doing, I'm making a second batch of the lemon almond flour cookie dough. And this time I'm going to try cooking things a little differently. I'm switching over to warm. So warm has absolutely no fan at all. 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm turning to 30 minutes again. Yeah, that's 30. So 30 minutes on warm at 350. Going to let things preheat like that. And we'll see how this batch cooks up with a cook that uses absolutely no fan at all. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed for the preheat, or so, 10 minutes or so. I didn't get to clean the cooker or the pan, just basically reusing things again and sliding on in there. And so going to just let things bake up and we'll see how it goes using warm instead of the bake setting. Alright, I let them go to full 20 minutes on warm at 350. We see things are not overcooked on the top. They feel about the same. Yeah, I think they're good. I'm going to pull these out and basically let these, set on the side and warm up, but give you a look. That's how they look, and I wasn't going to go in and spin them around or anything. If you want to do that, that's up to you. But this is how they look. Alright, so here's the 2 batches of cookies. These are the ones using the bake setting, and these are the ones using the warm setting. So you can see the ones that cook with warm, you can see the ones that cook with bake. Same amount of time, same temperature. You see the top, you see the bottom. One of these, you see the top, you see the bottom. Still got some, heavy cooking on the bottom from the heating elements, so they get a heavy cook on the bottom of them, but you can see the top gets a lighter touch with the warm than with the bake setting. So this is some advice for you who want to bake in this cooker, which you want to use, whether you want to use bake or you want to use warm, and you are going to get some heavy cooking on the bottom of them, as you can see. So I'm going to take one of each and put them on the plate here for some taste testing. So thank God for the cookies, and let's taste. I'll start with the lighter one, and we'll see how the dark one tastes after that. Alright, now to taste the dark one. Okay, basically I can taste the lemon much more in the lighter one than the darker one. The lighter one has much more moisture inside than the dark one. As I mentioned, using the lemon juice, I expect things to be a bit more moist inside. They're done, but a bit more moist. So that is all coming out in the ones that were cooked with warm. The ones with bake were a bit more cooked, so they didn't have as much moistness inside. And so, you know, I guess basically for me, I'll be using warm for any baking in this cooker. And bake, you know, I'll just kind of leave it there, convection bake. You know, maybe if I got some meat or something I want to try it out with, maybe. But, you know, this cooker, especially with it undercooking the bottom like that, you know, you might want to think long and hard about this cooker when it comes to if you cook desserts and pastries and things. It's, you know, it's a dance. It's an interesting dance. So I'll leave it at that. So that's the way it is with this cooker, and I hope that that helps you to make your decision as far as what you're going to get, how you're going to use it, how you're going to work with it. You know, any cooker can turn out some things for you if you kind of work with it. You know, and there's some things that some cookers just do better than others. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Some cookers do things better than others. Some cookers you got to learn and adjust to, and you know, that's how it is. You really want a cooker that works for you. You don't want to have to change your life for a cooker. That's something to keep in mind. Get a cooker that works for you. So with all of that said, in the video description, lots of ways to help the channel. Nothing in this video is sponsored. So there's like my cookbook, merch, memberships, a referral link if you want to buy like this cooker or others. Pay the same price, help the channel. Even if you use that link as a jump off point to buy other things that aren't even presented on the front page there, you can still shop through like Amazon through that link and still help the channel. So with all of that, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification icon, and good eating.